Namaste. This presentation is a literature appraisal on the implications of atypical manifestations of COVID-19 in prevention and treatment. Fever, dry cough, and tiredness are the most common symptoms among COVID-19 patients. Although respiratory tract manifestations are the most commonly reported symptoms in COVID-19, emerging data suggests that gastrointestinal and chemosensory systems could also be affected by COVID-19 on the basis that intestinal cells and chemosensory cells express angiotensin converting enzyme, the major receptor for COVID-19. Anosmia is a unique symptom of COVID-19 as it may happen in the absence of any other nasal symptoms. Meta-analysis report based on 10 studies suggest 52.73% prevalence among COVID-19 patients. It happened to be the first symptom in 27% of the patients and only presenting symptom in 16% of the patients. It happened before the diagnosis in 73% of the patients. It generally appears to correspond to mild to moderate form of disease. While most studies were based on subjective reporting, one study conducted objective testing and found 98% of the patients to have olfactory loss. Ageusia, that is, the taste loss, is the another chemosensory symptom which has been reported to have 43.93% prevalence among COVID-19 patients. It has been less robustly studied and so it remains unclear whether it is distinct manifestation or it happens secondary to olfactory dysfunction. Females were found to have these chemosensory symptoms more than males. Olfactory or gustatory dysfunction was the initial symptom in 35.5% of COVID-19 patients. Yan et al. Compared the prevalence of chemosensory symptoms between COVID-19 and other flu illnesses. They found significantly higher prevalence among COVID-19 patients than other flu conditions. These symptoms appeared to be of transient nature as they improved in 74% of the COVID patients at the clinical recovery. However, evidence is required on the duration of these symptoms. Based on the current evidence, sensory neural dysfunction appears to be the most probable mechanism, which will be discussed further. Conductive dysfunction appears to be the least probable mechanism as around 80% of the patients did not have nasal obstruction or rhinorrhea. Central dysfunction could also be a plausible mechanism as evidence support entry through olfactory bulb following intranasal infection. A current preprint report suggests co-expression of ACE2, that is the virus binding receptor, and host cell proteases facilitating virus entry on the supporting cells or the sustentacular cells of olfactory epithelium and the Bowman's glands. Olfactory receptor neurons and cells in the olfactory bulb were also positive for ACE2. Another report also found ACE2 expression on sustentacular cells or the supporting cells and the basal cells. Olfactory epithelium is present in the roof of the nasal cavity near the septum. Olfactory receptor neurons bind to odorants on the apical side and send the information through axons to the olfactory bulb. The olfactory neuroepithelium also has supporting cells and basal cells besides the olfactory receptor neurons. Bowman's glands are found behind the basal lamina of the olfactory neuroepithelium. So, from the current evidence, we can understand that there is a possibility for the virus to infect all the cells which are present in the olfactory neuroepithelium and also the cells which are present in the olfactory bulb. And by infecting the olfactory neuroepithelium, the virus can enter olfactory bulb and then to the brain. This is a case report of a woman in her 40s who was COVID positive and presented with acute loss of olfactory function without nasal obstruction. Her CT image showed bilateral inflammation of the olfactory clefts, suggesting inflammation of olfactory neuroepithelium. Based on their findings, authors proposed that virus could infect the olfactory epithelium through the same mechanism by which it infects the human respiratory epithelial cells, that is, by impairment of ACE2, which is now supported by two reports which I presented in the previous slide. To summarize, the chemosensory symptoms of COVID-19 are unique because they are isolated, that is, they are not associated with nasal blockage or rhinorrhea. Such cases may end up undetected because of the innocuous nature of the symptoms. Loss of smell searches on Google and tracking apps correspond with outbreaks. Hence, they are a potential source of infection spread. So, under the current COVID pandemic situation, suspect COVID-19 in anyone with sudden onset olfactory or taste loss. The one another system which is affected by COVID-19 is gastrointestinal system. Gastrointestinal epithelial cells and hepatic cells express ACE2, the receptor for virus. A meta-analysis report based on 29 studies on the GI symptoms in patients with COVID has shown the pooled prevalence of 15%. More importantly, around 10% of the patients presented only with GI symptoms without respiratory features. This isolated GI manifestations is an issue because it is more likely to delay the diagnosis, leading to more infection spread. Another potential issue due to the virus infecting the GI epithelial cells is fecal-oral transmission. Prolonged presence of virus in fecal samples than respiratory samples have been found both in adult patients as well as in pediatric patients. However, in pediatric patients, it is much higher. That is, 80% of the pediatric patients persistently tested positive on rectal swabs after nasopharyngeal tests became negative, suggesting the role of differences in GI microenvironment between adult and children. To summarize, the isolated GI manifestations are more likely to delay the diagnosis, leading to more infection spread. SARS-CoV-2 continues to replicate in the GI tract even after the clinical recovery. Hence, more investigations are necessary to determine whether these patients represent a potentially overlooked means of COVID-19 transmission. Stay safe, stay healthy.